In this episode, Wande shares her testimony, which includes giving her life to Christ as a teenager, despite her father being Muslim. She explains the hurdles of being the first woman signed to Lecrae's Reach Records, and we also discuss her music being played on ESPN. Additionally, Wande breaks down Happy, Be Yourself, Been Up, and Iconic in the 4-song breakdown. I'm Gaelika Brown, and this is Sound Seekers Presents Testimony, a Musician's Story. So I know that you were originally born in Nigeria.
Correct.
And your parents moved to Texas when you were what, like 1?
Yeah, basically it was a little baby out here.
So how do you get from Nigeria to Texas? What city did you guys move to?
Yeah, so first we pulled up to Houston, and then from there we came to Austin. But yeah, like essentially my parents were just searching for a better life. Like they just wanted to progress farther than the opportunities presented to themselves in Nigeria. And so
Okay.
that's why a lot of people actually immigrate to the United States just for opportunity and to grow. And so that's why they came here, and that's how we ended up in the United States.
Yeah, so I went to college at Texas Southern University, a historically Black college, and there was a large population of Nigerians in Houston and then also who attended my school.
Yeah, it's intense.
So, and actually, that was kind of like really, I guess, my first experience being around Nigerians. And now my brother, actually, and my sister-in-law is Nigerian, and now I have my niece and nephew who are half Nigerian. So, definitely all up in the culture and going to all the functions and eating the food and everything. So, your dad is Muslim and your mom is Christian.
Correct.
How does that work out? Like, how is that growing up?
Definitely an interesting situation. At first it was like chill and it wasn't like crazy, so I didn't put much thought to it because I was just like a kid growing up, and so my dad had just allowed us to go to church, and so it seemed normal. But I did know there were certain things like my mom was like, "Oh, don't ask to like go to summer camp," because churches usually have those. So she was like, "Don't do that. Don't push that. Just
Okay.
letting you go to church. So just keep it there." But I guess I was just always someone who was like, whatever, y'all too scared, I'm gonna just ask. And so essentially I started getting like intrigued about faith in middle school, and I wanted to learn more about who God was, which led me to looking into like things like, does Christian hip hop exist, like stuff like that.
Okay.
And from there I saw like Lecrae and basically the whole 116 clique, like they were gonna be performing at the
Hmm.
summer camp my church always goes to.
Okay.
And so because I was intrigued about that, I wanted to go to the summer camp. But essentially my dad was like, "Oh, I don't know if you can go to summer camps like that." So I just told him like, "Oh, I'm going to an internship, because the church had an internship." And so I was like, "Can I do this internship at a summer camp?" And he was like, "I mean, I guess you want to do an internship." And so that's how I was able to go. But it was cool because I ended up getting saved, and that's how I ended up seeing the tension, because once I came back from that and wanted to share the gospel with him and stuff, like he was just like, "Oh, you can't go to church anymore," and like, I don't want to hear any of this. So it's definitely interesting, but he's been very like, I guess, respectful now. So he's been able to see like the favor of God on my life and stuff. And so it's just an interesting dynamic, but
Yeah,
you choose God for yourself.
definitely. So, about how old were you then when you went to that summer camp?
Probably like 13.
13. And what was it? Was there something in particular that made you want to get saved there?
So I think I heard the gospel for the first time there, like legitimately presented that you needed a savior. And I think before I had rationalized being saved as like only for if you had like killed people or like, you were just out here in these streets. And so I was like, oh, well, I haven't really done anything crazy, so I guess I'm good. But there's like where I heard like it doesn't matter, like good works won't get you into heaven. Like good works doesn't make you right with God, but it's just having salvation and having a cleansed heart, and that we've all fallen short. And so that's how I was able to like actually get saved, and it actually has changed my life. And like I experienced peace, and I wanted other people just to know about who God was and who Jesus was.
Okay. And so you're basically junior high. And prior to that, when you went to church, so you have a brother, right?
Mm-hmm.
Who's the oldest? You or him?
Oh, I'm the youngest, so
Youngest.
everybody knows
Okay.
me. But yeah.
So when you were going to church, was it just your mom and your brother and you, and your dad would stay back?
Yeah, so I mean, everybody else in my family doesn't really care about faith that much. So it was just me basically. Like I was the one who wanted to learn more. And
Mm.
so they would just either stay at home or say, oh, I have football practice, bye. And so yeah, they didn't really care. And so I was the one who basically I would go to church with my mom. So I would actually go to work with my mom because she is a nurse, and so she works every other Sunday. And so I would go to work with her on the Sundays that she would go to work, and that's how I was able to start going to church, because then my uncle would pick me up and I'd be able to go.
Okay. So, and then you come back and you're, I've been saved. And you said there was a little bit of tension there with your father just being like, no more church for you.
Yeah, so essentially, like, the way I got around it was just like I had to wake up really early. Like, so I had to wake up at like 5 in the morning, read my Bible before like everybody woke up and stuff like that, and then just mind my business. And then also, this music helped me a lot because like sometimes I would get punished for stuff, and so like it was just like Christian hip hop and stuff really mattered to me, because then like even in moments like that where you'd want to feel spiteful because like why am I getting punished for something that's not even like
Mhm.
bad, but I would just sing like songs in my head of like having grace or forgiveness and stuff like that. And so it definitely was, it was an interesting phase, but I think it helped build up my like base to where like now it's like I'm never leaving God or never leaving Jesus, like.
Well,
And
no,
so
I mean, you were super about it to be a teenager going basically out of your way to go to church. That's crazy. Like,
yeah,
I don't know too many teenagers like that, at least not when I was growing up.
yeah.
Uh, but it was also cool that you found the culture of Christian hip hop, because that as well, I didn't get into until I was an adult. So for you to have the mindset to be like, is there a genre that exists out there for me?
Yeah. So
So
definitely was very, I was glad that I was able to find that, because like I was like, man, I really like hip hop music, but I'm really trying to pursue Jesus, and like this is not good for my walk, like it's influencing me to do bad things. So I was like, I can't listen to this, because basically from your mind, like that's
mhm,
where your actions start to flow. So I was like, if I'm actually serious, like I can't keep listening to this.
for sure. And when you're at the camp, you said 116 was there.
Mhm.
Was it, who was on the roster then?
So that was like I guess the original set. Like so it was Lecrae, Tripoli, Show Baraka, and so it was
Oh
like
wow.
2009. So
Oh
this,
wow.
so yeah,
That's okay. So you end up doing just a whole
yeah, a whole.
full circle. Okay. That's dope. All right. So now you're fairly young. What, early 20s now?
Yeah, I'm
Okay.
24.
24. All right. So now you're like this rising Christian hip hop star. Like, you have a whole lot of buzz around you. I've been following you on Instagram for a while. You pretty much mainly post about music. Every once in a while you kind of will post like some personal stuff. Did I see, are you in a relationship?
Oh yeah, I am.
Okay. So I mean, how is it like dating and you're being like this young Christian hip hop like rising star?
I guess the thing is like I've been in a relationship for a long time, probably
Okay.
like 4 years, almost 5 years. So
Okay.
I think like I look at my life and I'm like I feel like God did that on purpose, because I don't know how this would work out if I wasn't in a relationship. I feel like it's made a lot of things easier, because like in my job settings, like I'm the only girl in a lot of situations, but I think it makes it easier because now guys can tell their significant others like, hey, like Wanda's not interested in me. She has her own person. Like she's
Yeah.
minding her business. And I think it also helps too, because like whenever I work with guys, because I mean, even people I guess in my age group, I think naturally this is the age group where people are trying to get married and stuff like
Yeah.
that. So I think it's helped me too, to where all my interactions in music have just been purely business or friendship, because it's like, hey, I already got somebody. So I
Hmm.
think it's been a blessing to me, because it's helped avoid like any weird situations that could have potentially been awkward. So yeah.
Yeah, and that's like one of the I guess excuses that was used for a while as to why women weren't signed to labels.
Mhm.
That and touring, like, how we're going to tour, they can't be on the same bus as us. And
Yeah.
um what, when it comes to, because now you literally are the first woman, the first lady of Reach Records, um what hurdles have you encountered being the first lady?
Yeah, I would say for the most part it's been great, but I would say hurdles I've encountered is just like I guess reassurance of like that this is where God's placed you to be, and that this is like you're competent. So I feel like a lot of times men naturally they want to be nice and helpful, but in a way it can make you question like your intelligence and that you know what you're doing. So they might be like, oh, well, just let me do this, or oh, let me do this, and it's like, that's nice, but no.
Yeah.
So it's just like one challenge I've just had is just like reassuring people like, hey, I got this, like it's fine. And like kind of trying to communicate that, because as a woman a lot of times that can come across as like, oh, well, you just don't want anybody's help, or oh, you don't. And it's like, no, I welcome help, I do, but I also need the space to be myself and be an artist, like. And so without like, because otherwise it becomes everybody else's show and you're just the face of it versus like what God actually told you to do.
For sure. And prior to this pandemic, were you doing a lot of touring?
Oh yeah, definitely. So it's been a blessing too to even see like that's possible. I think this lifestyle like was definitely like seemed like a fear to me, to be able to be like, oh, this is my only job. Like I do music and just talk about Jesus all day. So it's been cool to be able to travel to different churches like around the country and like talk about Jesus and, you know, help energize their youth to like be on fire for God. So it's been really cool.
And how do the traveling arrangements work? Are you traveling by yourself? Are you able to travel with other male artists?
Yeah, so I mean, usually I'm traveling in a group, so I've been intentional about having these women around me. So my show actually consists of me and then 2 dancers. So usually that's the group that we're traveling together, and then like everybody has their own responsibilities. But it's cool because like everybody loves Jesus, so like we're able to like fellowship together, but then also have fun with our performances. And then even I like been on some other people's tours. So like for instance, how we had Unashamed tour, and RG, he did like a tour too called the Saint Holy tour. So I went on tour with him too. So like those are some other situations too where I was able to be with other artists and stuff. So it's usually chill. So like it's like I get my own hotel room, which is the benefit. Like so I get to live it up. But yeah, so usually like car transportation situations we're all together, and then when it's time to like sleep, then I'll just be in my own separate area. Get dressed, I'll be in my own separate area.
Well, I mean, that works out for you.
I'm
Airspace, yeah. Okay, so it really doesn't seem like all the hurdles as to why we can never sign a female artist. Because another thing was like it will be too expensive because she would have to have her own room and all like traveling. But it just seems like the room is the only situation really that's different.
Yeah, so it's like, hey, y'all just gotta figure it out. So
yeah, make it happen. So okay, so coming up again, growing up in a Nigerian household, and you decide that you want to be an artist. How does that conversation go with your parents? Like, what? We travel from Africa and work hard so you can be an artist? What?
Yeah, definitely. It's just like, I think just even with life, right? Life is much easier when you find the root of the situation. Like people act a certain way because there's a root behind it. And so the root behind like African parents saying that they want you to be a doctor, lawyer, all that stuff, it's just because they want you to have a good life. They just know those jobs secure a nice income, and they just want you to know like, hey, you're intelligent, so just go for the top. And so they're not saying it because they don't want good for you. They think it's good intentions and they just want the best for you. So knowing that was the root, it's like, okay, I'm not mad at it. But we actually just never had that conversation, because I think that's another lesson I learned, just like about protecting your dream. You see that like Joseph, you know, he kind of said it prematurely, and he told his brothers like, I'm gonna do all of this, and like it didn't really go that well for him. So I just kind of like kept my mouth shut, and I just let my actions speak for myself. So like they just kind of they realized over time. So like for Christmas, I would ask for like a recording software, or I would ask for a microphone, I'd ask for a keyboard, and then I would have shows and talent shows. So then I'd be like, oh, you can come to my talent show if you want. So stuff like that. So I mean, they would see over time. I think they probably thought it was a hobby, but I think once I moved to Atlanta and they saw like, oh, you got a contract, like, oh, okay, this is serious. And I think they could tell like if you consistently do something for years and years, it's like, okay, she actually really cares about this thing. So
that's cool. Just do it. Like, I'm gonna just do it, and then we'll talk about it later.
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay. So how does God's presence look in your life personally, like outside of music, just personally?
Yeah, I mean, I guess just like an everyday thing. Like God's presence is there because he just leads my decisions. He leads what I do. I talk to him in the morning. I say thank you. And yeah, I guess you could see it over my life. It's just grace, like the grace to do what I do every day, and just even like favor, like certain things work out. And so I don't know, like the God's presence over my life is just like literally just in every aspect. Like everything I do is flowing from God's presence.
I mean, it seems like you've really been connected from a young age. Like he's been the power source to everything that you've just been doing.
Yeah, definitely.
That's awesome. All right. So let's get into music now. So we know that you started off, like you literally worked your way from the bottom up. You were an intern at Reach Records, started, then did A&R work, and now you are a full-time artist. So being at the label as an artist, like how was that transition going from working there and working on other people's projects, and now I'm the artist and people are working with you?
Yeah, so I think it was actually a blessing that I had to work my way up, because God definitely like refined in me humbleness and treating people with integrity and stuff and not being arrogant. So like the transition was easy. It was just like, okay, I'm just working with more people that I already work with every day, and still treated people the same. Um, for me, it was actually nice because Reach, they let me keep my job, because like the one thing you learn when you become an artist, like people think like artists are rich and everything, and it's like, no, like you have to work your way up and you start getting money over time. And then even the money that you do get, you're using it to pay other people. So it's kind of like most artists, like you're not going to be rich till after a couple of years. And even if that, you might just still be average American. But it's nice because you earned it off of like music versus just like 9 to 5. But yeah, it was a cool transition. I think everything I did in the past prepared me for where I am today. So I'm just basically just applying that knowledge to my real life now.
And so you dropped your debut album, Exit, and you had some licensing go on ESPN.
Correct.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. I had a conversation with one of an artist, James Garden, and he was just saying that CHH artists are at an advantage when it comes to licensing because your music's already clean. So they
Yeah.
don't have to be like, I wonder if there's going to be any like curse lyrics in Wande's
They
music.
love
Yeah.
us. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's beautiful. I think it's one thing. It's like it's taught me a lesson too, because I think a lot of us as Christians sometimes we're like, oh, I don't want to say anything because they're gonna think like I'm being preachy or blah blah blah. So we might discredit ourselves in situations before we've even been discredited. And I think like the sync situations have taught me a lot of just like having confidence in being unapologetically like on fire for God. So like it's been cool because like the songs, like they'll play the parts that say Jesus or they'll play the parts that say God, and it's like, oh, I can like literally just be myself and still get success in certain areas.
That's so dope, man. So dope. I mean, it just seems like for you, just doors are just opening, and you're just like
Sure.
walking in effortlessly. Like,
Yeah, I think even just with that, like it's just kind of like a lesson God's been teaching me about like following the plan. Because like if I would have deterred, then certain doors would not be open. And so it's kind of like he's showing me it's like a ripple effect. Like being obedient in one area literally opens up the ways to be easier for other areas. And so like for instance, like when I started working for Reach, that wasn't my plan. Like I wanted to be an artist. I didn't want to be working for them. But it was like, okay, I feel like God's telling me to do this, so I did it. And so he was like, hey, I'm trying to help you out, because it actually helped me out because I understood contracts now. My contract ended up being way better because I've seen their contracts, so they can't give me a trash contract and stuff like that. And I learned just even how A&R and all that stuff works. So then that helped me as an artist. And so I've been learning like literally everything God put you through is like on purpose. And so you're missing out on a blessing if you don't go through the process. And so, yeah.
great. Yes. All right. So getting further into the music, I have a section called the 4-song breakdown. And it's where an artist either raps or recites a verse from a song and then discusses that song.
Mm-hmm.
So for you, it would be dope if we can go through Happy, Be Yourself, Been Up, and Iconic.
Sure.
So would you mind starting with doing a verse from Happy?
Yeah. Okay. I need the happiness that comes from above, like it's deeper than the feeling we receive from all the things that we have. I got a joy that lasts, yes, never leaving. So I still feel content when things don't go the way I'm thinking. Oh, the way we feel is so deceiving. You ain't even know. Follow your heart. You might make the wrong choice. People yelling, but you always got that still small voice. Got peace. Never drive me insane. Always staying the same.
Dope, dope, dope. All right. And anything that you want to say about the song or the verse in particular?
Yeah, so I think I like that particular verse because even in the first line, I say like it's deeper than the feeling we receive from all the things that we have. So like happiness isn't not coming just from, oh, I have all these nice things, oh, I have a job that's secure. Like if that's where you're finding your happiness, like that's all surface level. Like you need it, you need the happiness that comes from like the love of God, because that's much deeper than all those things, and that's the only thing that can be rooted. And I just talk about how that lasts. Like every other thing is passing, it's going to perish, but only what you have in the Lord will last. So yeah.
That's dope. And for those who don't know, like you pretty much do it all. I mean, you rap, you sing, you're like a beast with the melodies. Obviously, you write. Is there any other thing that you do musically that we're not aware of?
Dance. I'm trying to learn how to produce, so that's gonna be my next. That's my next goal. So once I finish that, I'll put a little gold star. So
That's right, and we definitely have to bring in the dancing aspect, because that is something that Christian hip hop lacked, especially when it came to shows. A lot of people want to incorporate dancers. I know it can be expensive, and then sometimes like the space that you go to, it's like you just have room to do this.
yeah.
Like no room to move at all. So that's dope that you get to bring that in. Okay, next song, Be Yourself.
Yes. Okay. Who you wanna be when you see the ceiling at night? When you home and you all alone, don't you know your future too bright? You wanna be somewhere else when you working that 9 to 5. Hey, slave away, work, pay the paycheck, but there's way more to life. Yeah, you keep running away for what's inside. You just trying to survive. You supposed to thrive. Don't you run from moments like this. You were made in His likeness. You were a child of God. You may think it's out, but have faith and see life shift.
Yes. All right, let's talk about that song, Be Yourself.
Yeah, so I love Be Yourself, and that verse low key describes like it's like what I would want to hear to my past self when I was going through what I was going through. So literally, like it's like I'm working my 9 to 5, and I literally wanted to be somewhere else. Like I'm just like, God, I'm telling you right now, God, I'm being real. I'm not happy. I'm upset. Like um, and it's kind of like I literally had to go through a mental battle of not giving up, because every single day I was faced with the decision: do you want to give up, or do you want to keep going and keep pushing for what you know God has called you to do? And so I think for me it was really good to like hear like, there's so much inside of you. Don't just live for survival, don't just stick with the norm, but thrive. Like live to do something more than the norm, and like step outside of your comfort zone. And so I think for me, like I wrote that song because I knew that if I was in the space that I was like a year ago, I would have definitely wanted to hear something like that, and it would have helped me a lot.
Definitely. No, I've definitely been in that space. That was all of 2019 for me. Like, Lord, I hate this job.
Yeah.
I hate doing this. Like, all I want to do is tell your stories. That's what you created me to do. Let's make that happen. How do we make that happen?
Please.
In 2020, it's a totally different story. No
Yeah.
longer at that job. So no, this song would have been on point for me last year, but I could definitely appreciate the essence of it this year. So thanks for writing that. And then next, Been Up, which also features No Big Deal and What Up RG, but you didn't list any of your features on the album. Is there a
Oh
reason
yeah,
for that?
little surprise or whatever. But yeah, so I hop on the scene. It's a scene. We in action. I really believe since I was a teen, I don't do no acting. I'm teaching them things, and what is unseen is what's everlasting. Deliver 16s, 116. It's no capping. I really hop on the floor just to get them delivered. He's coming. I cannot delay. I see the cause I was dealt with. I always wanted to line them up. I want to play. I cannot sit on the side. Yo, I got this inside of my soul. I'm tied the lace. I gotta get up and go when I'm feeling below. Try again when it's too much to stake. And so that song is just like about like, hey man, like run it up. Like if God gives you something, like keep going. Like don't play small. So like one of my favorite lines on there is like, I see the cards I was dealt, but my God always winning. So line them up. I want to play. So you may have been dealt some trash cards. Like you might have gotten some cards that everybody sees it and they're like, you're gonna lose at life. And it's like, you know what? That doesn't matter. Like just because your odds may look like you're about to lose, like God literally always wins, so you should always play, because at the end of the day, like you're going to come out with the victory, and God already promised that to us. He's not a liar. So it's kind of like no matter what you've been given, like use your resources and just run it up because God's going to be on your side if you're walking in his will.
That's so dope. I mean, you're for your age, it's really impressive. Just the light that you just have. It's so bright. It's so bright. I hope it just shines even brighter, just keeps on. Iconic.
Oh yes. So there's so many different parts of it. I'm like, which part of iconic? Do you have a preference of which part you want me to talk about?
I don't have a preference, but I do like the whole like thinking about the future, can't be neutral part. But no preference.
Yeah. I can do that part.
Okay.
All right. Thinking about the future can't be neutral, so intentional. Started switching gears when he appeared and showed which way to go. Homie had the driver, suicide was in his plan though. Cause he copped the Lambo. What he needed was the lamb. Oh, ooh. Outside looking clean, inside looking empty. Yeah. You ain't feel complete. Half off like it's semi. Yeah. About to crash from the truth. Yeah, you dash it. Need a stack where the stash everlasting. And so, yes, so that song, I mess with it because it's just talking about how, like, you have to switch things up. Like, you need to start thinking about where am I going to end up at the end of eternity? Because I could be stacking up, getting all these things, and, like, literally, I'm about to crash. Like, this is literally leading you to a disaster. You're going to crash, and you're going to be very upset with your final destination. And so it's kind of just like a metaphor of, like, cars, because, like, we're always on a journey with life. And so, like how I say, like, you got to switch gears. Like, you have to switch it up and, like, make a change in your life. And so it's just kind of like a self-awareness song just for you to, like, think, like, yo, which direction am I heading? Am I heading towards God or am I heading towards destruction?
And I like the line about, because he copped the Lambo, but he needed, what he needed was the lamb.
Yeah.
Oh, yes. Don't need the Lambo. All you need is Jesus. All right. So all of those songs are on Exit, your debut album. And when people listen to Exit, what do you want the takeaway to be?
I just want your takeaway to be, like, pursue the purpose that God has called you to do with confidence. Like, love God and really look at yourself and say, am I doing what God has called me to do? If not, what changes can I make to now start doing so? So I think that's definitely the takeaways I want people to have. Like, exit your old ways and enter into who God's calling you to be.
Yes. All right. And how does God's presence look in your life musically?
I think it just looks like joy. I think it looks like joy and faith. Like, God has definitely taught me a lot about faith through music. So for me, like, music has been a thing where it's like, God, you keep putting me in situations that are totally outside of my comfort zone. But God has definitely taught me, like, hey, just trust me because you got this. And so, and just even leaning on him for, like, creativity. Because, like, songs, like, it's like, where does a song come from? Like,
Yeah.
you can't just, I don't know. It's just literally only from God. And so it's literally just leaning onto him because he's literally the one feeding my creativity. And if you look at the greatest songs in the world, like, the same God who gave them that idea can literally drop that onto you. So it's literally just leaning onto God to, like, whatever you want me to talk about, let's talk about, because you can talk about anything. So I want to talk about something impactful that's going to lead people to God.
I hope you enjoyed the episode. Please subscribe to our show. And if you really enjoy the content, please leave a review. It really does help with the ranking. For all things testimony, visit testimonystories.com. Until next time, I'm Gaelika Brown, the music lover constantly seeking positive music.